Good morning. Am I there? Am I on? Hello, testing, testing, testing. There we go. How's everybody doing today? Hello, how you doing? How you feeling? Good. Well, good to see you. Hey, brother, how you guys doing? Good. Take your Bibles and turn to Proverbs chapter 26. We'll get some of these others that are in the hallway to come in. Give them just a minute and we'll get started. I have missed you guys. I have. Good to see y'all. Proverbs chapter 26. Hey, Kim. I'll give the others just a minute to get here. And I saw something this morning that scared the fire out of me. I saw Lucy pulling up in the driveway driving. She really looked like she did fantastic. It was good to see that. Although I did come inside and look from inside rather than be in the parking lot. When I was a kid, there was a soap opera called As the World Turns. I don't know if it's still out there or not. Just the craziest things in life would happen. I feel like today, at times, the world is as the world turns. Just craziness going on in life. Yet, I think it's a time of opportunity for us to serve God. We read stories in the Bible about men under great oppression during the dark days of their life, yet they stood strong and did wonderful feats for the Lord. I think we have opportunity like that today. Brother, good to see you guys. I missed y'all. I really missed you guys. We have opportunity for the Lord today. I remember when I was playing basketball in college. I loved basketball, played it all the time, but I always wanted to make sure that I was in the game at the end of the game when the game was on the line. I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be in the game. You know, there's something about being in the game when things are really happening, when you can win or lose. It told me something. It told me when I was in there, my coach trusts me. He believes that I can get done what needs to get done. I believe this. I think we're at the end of the game. I think the world that has existed for 6,000 years, the Lord is coming soon. And I believe He's allowed us to be at the end of the game for a reason. I believe He trusts us to do the things that we should be doing for Him. I love this time in the world. Even though things are crazy, even though things you look and say, what in the world do people think today? The fact is, He has us here for a reason. Do you believe that? I really do. I truly believe that, and I love the fact that we get to be here and to fulfill His will during the difficult times on earth. That's a great thing. Take your Bible now. That's sort of a prelude to what I want to talk about in Proverbs chapter 26. Proverbs chapter 26. This may be a little different type of lesson because I'm going to really hammer one thing pretty hard. But I think it's appropriate, and I think it is totally in context. Chapter 26 of Proverbs, beginning at verse 13. The slothful man saith, there is a lion in the way, a lion is in the streets. As the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. The slothful hideth his hands in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it again to his mouth. A lion in the way. That's unusual. You know, I've often wondered about this verse. Where do lions normally stay? In the jungle, in the forest, out in the wilderness, rarely in the city. I think it's important, and I hope we realize the reprehensible slothfulness of this man. It doesn't appear in what he says. His slothfulness appears in what he doesn't say. He leaves some things unsaid, and that's what I want to look at today. I think he really means this. The things he's leaving unsaid, he means this. I'm ashamed, and I'm a coward. because the lion's in the way, and I will shirk my responsibilities. I will forget my duties. And the lion that's in the way, that's my excuse. I'm going to let the lion be the reason I don't fulfill the duties that I have, that I don't fulfill the responsibilities that I have. The brave man, on the other hand, the diligent man, though there is a lion in the way, though there is trouble outside of his doors, he says, I will slay it anyway. I will fight it, I will wound it, and I will fulfill the duties that I have, regardless of whether or not a lion is in the way. I think this is very representative of the society that we live in today. There is a lion in the way. I ask you, in whose way? In whose way is the lion? I ask you, in what way is the lion in the way? Is he in the way of life? Here is the truth of the matter, and I don't know if we realize this or not. You have a lion in the way, outside the walls of your home. And every individual has a lion in the way in our life. And I think the question revolves around this. What are we going to do about the lion in the way? The truth is this. Life, if we're to be honest with each other, life is not easy. Life's hard. Life's difficult. I don't know a lot about life, but I know this. You will have problems in life. Difficulties will abound. And we have no further to look than what goes on in society today. The truth of the matter is that we must earn our way. John F. Kennedy said this, and y'all have all heard this quote, but I think it's true, and we need to heed the principle of what he said. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and to do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Do you know what I think is symptomatic of the Christian life today generally? We're a lot like water. We seek the path of least resistance to make things easy on us. Life is hard. We must earn our way in life. Life is not something that we can just sit by, idly by, and let it pass by. We must earn our way for all of our life, for everything that we do. For the food that you get, you need to get out and earn it. And please hang with me because I'm going somewhere with this. We have to earn our shelter that we live in. We have to earn the clothing. Try sitting right where you're sitting for the rest of your life. It won't work, will it? Life is hard. You have to get out and do things in life, even though there's a lion in the way. Even though that problems will face us tomorrow, we have to get out and earn our way and do as we should. Living a life and not doing the hard things like we must do. To have a life like that is truly not to have a life. Forgetting to do the difficult things of life is really only this. It's a living death. That's one of the reasons I hate what is going on with all this COVID. Stay at home. Don't do anything. Avoid contact with people. This is not living. We must do the hard things, as John F. Kennedy says. Are y'all following what I'm saying? I hope you guys are getting this. Slothfulness, self-indulgence, self-abandonment to besetting sins, caring for nothing but self, appeasing one's laziness, and keeping ourselves miserably alive is what life is like when we don't do the difficult and hard things. When we don't make a decision to do what's right, regardless of the consequences. Life is hard. To live at ease, to live selfishly, to live for pleasure, all this is to be dead while we're alive. And I hope that you see that. when we live like that, we believe that there is a lion in the way. And we're afraid to get out and face that lion and the difficulties of life that follow. If we could live peaceably without combating anything in life, and that's not the life that I want. But on the other hand, if we live for more nobler objectives of life, if we live for something other than ourselves, if we live for something other than the shameless selfishness which defines much of society, if we live like Paul, who had to fight the beast at Ephesus and live a life worth living, there's going to be fights in this world. And we as Christians, we as Bible believers, need to understand, even though there's a lion in the way, I'm willing to go outside those doors and fight. And we need Christians like that today more than ever, willing to face the lion in the streets. Out beyond the walls, we will be required to gird our loins and to light the darkness, the dark path of life. We need to be swift of foot, ready for the battle, and use the sharp sword of the Spirit. We need to have a purposeful heart that we are going to do what is right, regardless of the consequences. We need the strong arm of faith and prayer in our life to face the battles that are going to come in life. Or we can stay inside the walls and say, there's a lion in the way. The choice is ours. I want to be ready for the battle. I want to carry the cross, no matter the obstacles that come my way. And I hope we all do. You know, there are many lions out there in the street. There's not just one lion that's out there. We should, and I think I should note this. I think this is important to see. True courage to do right does not consist in the absence of any sense of fear, but it is to feel fear and to overcome it. I've got some examples of that. Has anybody ever heard of Mary Walker? And let me say, shame on all of society if we don't know who Mary Walker is. Dr. Mary Walker, during the Civil War time, was the first and only woman to win the Congressional Medal of Honor. She was a doctor who joined the Union and healed and helped heal many wounded victims. But she realized that she had a purpose beyond just that. And she would go across the enemy line to the Confederates and help heal them of their wounds. She tried to get some of the Union soldiers to go with her, but they wouldn't. They were scared of being killed or being captured. And she did that time and time and time again until ultimately the Confederates arrested her, saying that she was a spy. She was not. But they said, do you think she was scared? Do you think she was afraid? But she faced the lion. She faced the difficulties that were in front of her in life. And she won the Congressional Medal of Honor. Has anybody ever heard of Jake Alex? He single-handedly charged an enemy machine gun nest in France in 1918. Single-handedly. While doing that, as he was charging, he ran out of bullets. He continued to face the lion. He put his bayonet on, and as he was charging, he killed 5 enemy soldiers facing the lion. Then on the 5th one, his blade broke. He turned the gun around and kept charging, and with the butt of his rifle, took that machine gun nest. He ended up capturing, with no bullets, no bayonet, an additional 15 soldiers. He faced the lion. do we? There's a lion in the way. I won't read them all. I have example after example of men that faced fear, and they did what they had to do. I believe this. I'm not a doomsdayer or anything like that, but I believe we're in the last days. And I believe the Lord wants us to see that even though there's a lion in the way, I'm going to keep moving forward and keep doing right. I'll just say a few of these. William Turner assaulted an enemy position with only a pistol to save a group of men, and he did. There's a lion in the way, he said. Let me at them. Alan Eggers and John Latham crossed no man's land to save a tank crew, and he saved all three. Charles Bell fell on a grenade to save his fellow soldiers, was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously, regardless of the consequences of life. Regardless if I stand for right and get fired from my job, I should face the lion. Vernon Baker, the only living black American to be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. Others, black Americans, have been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. He was the first that lived through his peril and was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. What did he do? There were like 15 wounded people that couldn't get evacuated because of the suppressing fire from the enemy. He circles around, makes himself obvious. I'm over here. And they start shooting at him so that those people could be saved. How are we as Christians? What are we like? Do we fight the lion that's in the way? Or do we keep the door closed? I ask you to think about that. I'm going to skip a lot of these, but I think there's one here that I want to talk to you about. Charles Waters, in the Vietnam War, he was a chaplain. Do you know when chaplains don't get a pistol? They don't get a rifle. You realize that, right? His responsibilities were to oversee and minister to religious needs of his soldiers. This was 1967 in Vietnam. There were wounded guys that couldn't be reached. This chaplain took it upon himself to face the lion and the enemy fire that was out there, and went and got one of those guys and carried him back. Went and got the second guy and carried him back. Went and got the third guy and almost carried him back. And he was shot and killed and was awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor posthumously. Regardless of life or limb, he did what should be done. I ask us to be introspective about our life. You see, for the brave, there are lions in the way. Lions are in this world, and they will stop us if we let them. But the lions don't stop people committed to do what they need to do. The actions. You know, we live in a very wonderful time, actually. Even though it's crazy in this world, the time we live in is wonderful. Things are amazing. I can remember as a kid Some of you older folks will remember this, and I won't call out any names. JoBeth, Linda. I can remember as a kid watching some television shows. And on these television shows, these people had some contraptions. This contraption that they had, you could do that and put it up to your ear and actually talk while you're driving down the road to somebody else. We have that today. We live in a wonderful, amazing time. In this amazing time, in this time of action, we need people to step up. Not for me, not for Calvary Baptist Church, but for the Lord. Step up and be a Dr. Mary Walker. Step up and be that chaplain. For these brave people, pleasant compromises are not going to be a way of life. To people that think the lion's in the way, pleasant compromises are a way of life. Today, the religious world walks in silver slippers, in polite pleasantries, taking the path of least resistance when it comes to battling the world, when it comes to doing right, regardless of consequences. The world and the religious world today, often we see good and evil lying together, side by side, often in amiable neutrality to each other. I don't want that. I'm not saying that we should have, as a Christian, a difficult disposition against the world. Not saying that at all. I am saying we should stand for truth. Period. Period. As I was studying this, I thought about Christian groups around the world, and I started reading about the World Council of Churches. Let me read what their aim is. The aim of the World Council of Churches is to pursue the goal of visible unity among the churches. This involves a process of renewal and change in which churches pray, worship, and discuss working together. I ask you, should we? The World Council of Churches accepts the ordination, did I say that right? Ordination of women. They approve the ordination of practicing homosexuals. They tolerate an amazing variety of heretical beliefs. There's a line in the way. Should we stand, or should we keep behind the walls of safety? At a re-imaging conference for the World Council of Churches in Minneapolis in 1993, the Deputy General Secretary, Mercy, and I'll not pronounce her name, Aduowe. It's just an African name. You could probably pronounce it. I can't. She taught that we all have spirit mothers. This is at a church event. We all have spirit mothers who avenge us, and that the spirits of the dead surround us in the rustling of the trees, in the groaning of the woods, in the crying grass, in the moaning rocks. That's at a church service. There's a line in the way. Are we going to stay behind the wall, or are we going to face the lion? The same conference also featured Kwok Pai Lan, who defines salvation as bringing out what is within you, and quoted the Gnostic Gospels. And I'll tell you what the Gnostic Gospels are in just a minute. She justified her use of the Gnostic text by stating, since it was men who decided the canon of the Bible, she was not obligated to accept it. Gnosticism, the Gnostic gospel is this. They believe God is wholly transcendent, and that is, he's far removed from his creation, and that he did not create the material universe that we see. We're going to see this type of belief become more prominent as we move forward into history. Are we going to fight the lion? Or are we going to be amicably peaceable and just let it go? Who are we? What are we going to do about truth? We make our choices. If we contend with compromise and conventionality, we use the excuse that the lion is in the way. This broad, well-worn path of life is also paved with success and popularity, and it's available to all if you compromise. What are we going to do? Who are we? What do we believe? What is going to make us stand? But if we have nobleness and boldness, like valiant men of the past, like Stephen in the book of Acts. I was talking to Mike a couple of weeks ago about how I respect Stephen. Stephen has about 5 or 6 verses in the Bible that talk about him. But you know who he was? He was a man that faced a lion, and he stood. We need Stephens, people that aren't worried about popularity, people that aren't worried about praise, people that don't need to be mentioned to others, but people that will stand. If we boldly rebuke vice, if we denounce fashionable iniquities, when I was a kid, oh my word, homosexuality was loathsome in the minds of people. Today, if you think it's loathsome at work, you're viewed like a crazy guy. We need to denounce fashionable iniquities. We need to fling away from theological falsehoods. We need to run counter to the general delusions that face society today, that run rampant in our society. We need to deal vigorously with the issues of life because there's a lion in the way and we need to fight it. Will we? The lion of the world's hatred and oppression may be avoided, just like it has been for millennium. It's been avoided by thousands who seek a sleek, slothful, and prosperous time in this world. But there's another lion that's out there. Not just the world, there's another lion that's out for you and I. It's the lion of our own fleshly nature. If you're honest, if I'm honest, I have to fight that lion all the time. Do we? We have to fight the lion of our own physical and mental passions that invade our mind. We either fight this lion or we succumb to it. There's another lion in the way who goes about seeking whom he may devour. We need to fight that lion and resist the devil. I think it's interesting if you look at Ephesians chapter 6, I think it is, about the armor that we have in life. There's nothing on the back. The Bible tells us to resist Satan. You only resist by fighting, not by turning and running. We have too many Christians today whose whole mantra of life is to be passive and peaceable and let things go. You don't see that in Christian history. Going back to the church in Jerusalem, people stood for right. I need to skip a lot of things because I only have 5 minutes. A surprise, surprise, huh? Verse number 14 of, as the door turneth upon, we're talking about the slothful man now. That whole verse we talked about, the line in the street, was because the slothful man refused to fight. We think this, I'm not a slothful person. I'm busy. I go to work every day. We're talking about Christian slothfulness. The Christian that refuses to go to the battle. The Christian that refuses to do right. The Christian that refuses to be what he or she should be for personal gain. Verse 14, as the door turneth upon his hinges, so doth the slothful upon his bed. You know, I was sick December 3rd. I got sick. I remember that because I was on an all-day Zoom call for work, and I got sick as I could be. I was sick for about 12 or 13 days. I'm a guy that normally sleeps about 6.5 hours a night. That's what I need. I have to have that. If you wake me up at 5 hours and 30 minutes, but 6 hours and 30 minutes, I'm great. During those 12 days, I was sleeping 15 hours a day. Man, I would wake up after 6 hours. I would turn over and go to sleep for 6 more hours. Then I'd go sit on the couch, and as I'm sitting on the couch watching the television, I'm out for 3 more hours. I was turning upon my bed. This gives an example of a door. Does a door ever move? How does it move? It opens and shuts. It opens and shuts. But does it ever really move? It never really moves. It's in this building's probably 20 years old. That door back there has opened and shut probably 100,000 times. It's still there. The slothful man, the guy that won't make a decision to go out and fight the lion, he's still there. Still doing the same thing that he does every day. Still unwilling to get out of his comfort zone and to do what he should. And let's go to the next verse for time's sake. Verse number 15. The slothful hideth his hand in his bosom. It grieveth him to bring it to his mouth again. This is what I picture. You know what it reminds me of? I'm driving down the interstate in Memphis, Tennessee, and on the side of the road I see about 15 guys behind a white and orange truck or white and blue truck, and 2 of them have a shovel, and the other 13 are doing this. Just looking. Who are we? This is a call to action, to get serious about the Christian life, to not just wade through life, because life is good. I have it okay. It's to really do the hard things, like John F. Kennedy said. It's to do the things like Paul did. Paul, an educated man, a smart man, who could have had an easy life. He could have had that type of life if he would simply compromise. But he couldn't do this. He had to get out and get going. There was something to be accomplished. There was something hard to do. And Paul said, I'm the one. I'll do it. I'll do it. Will we? We're dismissed.